and our Shabbat morning story time. I'm coming to you from my house. I'm here with Caden and Noah, who is off camera this morning, and we are so glad you're able to join us today as we come together on this Shabbat. What? Okay. Okay. So we're going to get started this morning with some songs and some singing, and then we'll get into our stories. Bim, bam, bim, 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 bam. Bim, 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 bam. Chiri, biri, biri, bim. Bam, bim, 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 bam. Bim, 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 bam. Shabbat Shalom, hey Shabbat Shalom, hey Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, hey Shabbat Shalom, hey Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom, Shabbat, Shalom, hey, Shabbat, Shalom, hey, Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Maya Hayom, Shabbat, Shalom. Maya Hayom, Shabbat, Shalom. And we're just a couple weeks away from Passover. And so our stories this morning, the first two are going to be about Passover. And I think we should start off also by getting in the mood for Pesach, which is coming up at the end of the month, with a Passover song. What do you think, Caden, this morning? Passover? All right. When Israel was in Egypt land, let my people go. Oppressed so hard they could not stand. Let my people go, 'cause the Lord said, go down. Moses, way down in Egypt land, tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. Thus said the Lord, bold Moses said, let my people go. If not, I'll strike your firstborn dead. Let my people go, 'cause the Lord said, go down. Moses, way down in Egypt land, tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. All right, so our first story this morning is a Passover story, and it's called Who Will Ask the Four Questions? And it was written by Naomi Ben-Gur and illustrated by Carmel Ben-Ami. Okay, there we go. Grandma Naomi, look at the guitar that Mom bought for me. I ran to my room, picked up my new guitar, and started to play. You sound like a real pop star, she beamed. This is how I'll sing the four questions. Ma nishtana on Seder night, I said. Grandma was delighted. You were so wonderful last year. But then we heard a voice from the corner of the room. No, it's my turn this year. I'm going to sing. I looked over at my little sister Evie, who was doing a puzzle. I'm going to sing Ma nishtana this year, she said again. It's not Ma mishtana, it's Ma nishtana with an N, I told her. See, you're too young. You can't get the words right. I can, Evie insisted. Why don't you sing together, suggested Grandma. No, Evie protested. I can sing by myself. My teacher said that the youngest always sings Ma mishtana. You're still getting it wrong, I laughed. But Evie insisted. I do know it. I just got a little confused. I am old enough, and I can do it. Grandma, will you teach me? Grandma stroked my head. Eitan, sweetheart, you're Evie's big brother. Maybe you could teach her to sing the four questions. I don't want to, I complained. Can't you just sing next year? But Evie wasn't giving up that easily. I'm the littlest, so I'm going to sing this year. The next time Grandma Naomi came to visit, she took Evie into Mom and Dad's bedroom. When I pressed my ear to the door, I heard Grandma teaching her to sing the four questions. Ma mishtana, Evie began. Oh, Grandma, she cried, I still can't get it right. Don't worry, Grandma said. You're allowed to get mixed up. Grown-ups get mixed up too. When I complained to Mom and Dad, they told me I had to let Evie sing. It's not fair, I stamped my feet. What will I do instead? You could recite the 10 plagues, Dad suggested. I don't want to, I moaned. I want to sing the 4 questions. I had one final idea. One evening, when we were going to bed, I asked Evie softly, Do you want my new guitar? Yes, she exclaimed. You can have it if you let me sing the 4 questions. She hugged her blankie and didn't say a word. Okay, I asked, wishing that she would say yes. No, she said at last in a small voice. Seder night finally arrived. Evie and I helped to get everything ready. I put out the napkins on one side of the table and Evie set the other side. Hers were a little crooked. I wanted to straighten them out for her, but she got upset. When the guests arrived, they went straight to the kitchen, carrying pots, baskets, and trays. There was wine for the grown-ups and sweet grape juice for the children. I'll drink 4 glasses of that later, I thought. Aunt Jenya brought nut cake, Grandpa Avi brought fish, Aunt Netta brought hot soup with matzo balls, Evie's favorite. Everyone took turns reading from the Haggadah, and now, Mom smiled at Evie, we'll hear Manishtana. The room fell silent as Evie stood on her chair. She looked nervous. She glanced at our aunts and uncles and cousins, and then stared at me. Maybe she would finally give in and let me sing. I moved my lips soundlessly around the words, Manishtana. Suddenly, I don't know how it happened, I heard myself sing those first 2 words. Evie then continued in her own loud and clear voice. Halayla ze mikol halaylot. And so it went on. I started singing each question by singing Manishtana, and Evie followed. She sang all 4 questions. When she was finished, everyone cheered. Wonderful, Evie. Fantastic. I joined in, brimming with pride. Just a minute, Grandma Naomi called out. Let's not forget to thank Eitan for helping Evie so nicely. Tonight you showed us all what a fantastic big brother you are. Everyone clapped, but strongest of all clapped Evie, my not-so-little sister. The end. Our next book today is called The Passover Parrot. I loved our brownstone house in Brooklyn. It had a large, homey kitchen and lots of room upstairs. Best of all, the big backyard with the tall oak tree that shaded us from the summer sun. My brothers Joey and Saul and I loved to play there, especially in the springtime. One day, our neighbor, Mrs. Brown, knocked on our door. Good morning, Mama said. What's that you're holding, your parrot? Yes, Mrs. Cohn, I'm moving. Wouldn't you like to keep him? She noticed me tugging at Mama's skirt and pushed the cage into my hand. For you, Lily, a present. Before Mama could say 7 children and a parrot, Mrs. Brown was gone. I jumped with such delight that I scared the parrot half to death. Mama shook her head. More things to take care of, she grumbled. I'll help you, Mama. You'll see. It was shortly before Passover, and Mama was cleaning the house, removing all the chametz, the leavened foods we can't eat on the holiday. She began to refer to the parrot as the chametzdika bird, and before long we called him chametz. Can you say the 4 questions in Hebrew? Papa asked me a few days before the Seder. His smile seemed to say, it's okay if you can't. But Joey was old enough to ask them in English, so I made up my mind to learn them in Hebrew. Mama, will you listen to me to say the 4 questions I asked? But Mama was too busy. Ask Joey to listen to you. I asked Joey, why me? He said, ask Saul or Rachel or Franny. Never mind, I replied. In the end, I chose chametz. He was never too busy to listen. In fact, he loved it when I practiced. Ma nishtana halayla zeh, I sang, and chametz repeated in his parrot squeaky voice. Ma nishtana halayla zeh, mikol halaylot. I continued. Mikol halaylot, squeaked the parrot. Would Papa be surprised? I could hardly wait for the Seder. At last the day came. David and Franny helped Mama in the kitchen. Rachel and Saul set the table. Joey, Becky, and I checked that everything was in order. Haggadot? Joey asked. Check, I said. Chorozet? Becky said, sampling some. Wine? Enough for every cup, and Elijah's too, Papa called from the kitchen. The guests arrived all dressed up. After we admired the table, we took our places, and Papa began the Seder. He broke the middle matzah and put half back under the satin cover. He wrapped the other half in a napkin. "This is the afikomen," he said, putting it behind the pillow on his chair. "Whoever brings it to me after dinner will get a reward." We all smiled. Joey laughed. He had already taken the afikomen. "Here, Lily, hide it quickly," he whispered. I snatched the napkin with the afikomen and ran upstairs to my bedroom. As I slipped back into my seat, Papa called, "Quiet, everyone. Lily will ask the 4 questions." I stood on a chair and began to sing, "Ma nishana halayla hazeh." And as I paused to take a breath, Chametz, who had been sitting quietly in his cage in the living room, repeated in his squeaky parrot voice, "Ma nishana halayla hazeh." All eyes turned to Chametz. I tried to continue. "Mikol halelot." The parrot squeaked right after me. "Mikol halelot." My brothers giggled. The guests laughed too. "Take the parrot up to the bedroom," Papa ordered. When I came back, I sang the 4 questions without a single mistake. The guests clapped and Papa smiled. With the sweet singing and the delicious meal, I forgot about the parrot. At last, Papa called for the afikomen so we could finish the Seder. "Joey, do you have it?" "No, Papa." "Saul, do you have it?" "No, Papa." "Lily?" "Yes, Papa." "May I have the afikomen, please?" I ran to my bedroom, but there was no afikomen. I looked under the table and under the bed. No afikomen. And there was no parrot either. The cage door was wide open and Chametz was gone. I sat down on the floor and began to cry. Papa sent Joey and he searched too. Then came Saul. In a minute he knew exactly what had happened. "Follow me," he said. Joey and I followed them back down the stairs, through the kitchen and out the back door into the yard. There was Chametz, perched on a branch of our tall oak tree, holding the afikomen tightly in his beak. "Somebody has to climb the tree," Saul said. "You'd better go," said Joey. "I might tear my new pants." "No, don't go," I said. "Just let me talk to Chametz." Then, at the top of my lungs, I sang as loudly as I could, "Ma nishana halayla hazeh." Chametz couldn't resist. He opened his beak and repeated, "Ma nishtana." The afikomen dropped. Did Joey catch it? Did Saul? No, I caught it myself. Well, what was left of it. When I turned around, the whole family and all our guests were standing behind me, watching and clapping. As we returned to the house to finish the Seder, we heard echoes of a squeaky voice singing, "Ma nishtana." Chametz had flown quietly back through the window into the cage. Perched on one leg, he was practicing for the second night's Seder. The end. Our last book today is a Dr. Seuss, The Sneetches. Now, the star-belly Sneetches had bellies with stars. The plain-belly Sneetches had none upon theirs. Those stars weren't so big, they were really so small. You might think such a thing wouldn't matter at all. But because they had stars, all the star-belly Sneetches would brag we're the best kind of Sneetch on the beaches. With their snoots in the air, they would sniff and they'd snort. We'll have nothing to do with the plain-belly sort. And whenever they met some, when they were out walking, they'd hike right on past them without even talking. When the star-belly children went out to play ball, could a plain belly get in the game? Not at all. You only could play if your bellies had stars, and the plain-belly children had none upon theirs. When the star-belly Sneetches had Frankfurter roasts, or picnics or parties or marshmallow toasts, they never invited the plain-belly Sneetches. They left them out cold in the dark of the beaches. They kept them away and never let them come near, and that's how they treated them year after year. Then one day, it seems, while the plain-belly Sneetches were moping and doping alone on the beaches, just sitting there wishing their bellies had stars, a stranger zipped up in the strangest of cars. "My friends," he announced in a voice clear and clean, "my name is Sylvester McMonkey McBean. And I've heard of your troubles, I've heard you're unhappy, but I can fix that. I'm the fix-it-up chappie. I've come here to help you, I have what you need, and my prices are low, and I work at great speed, and my work is 100% guaranteed." Then quickly, Sylvester McMonkey McBean put together a very peculiar machine. And he said, "You want stars like a star-belly Sneetch? My friends, you can have them for $3 each. Just pay me your money and hop right aboard." So they clambered inside, and the big machine roared. And it clonked, and it bonked, and it jerked, and it burked. and it bopped them about, but the thing really worked. When the plain belly Sneetches popped out, they had stars. They actually did. They had stars upon theirs. Then they yelled at the ones who had stars at the start. We're exactly like you. You can't tell us apart. We're all just the same now, you snooty old smarties, and now we can go to your Frankfurter parties. Good grief, groaned the ones who had stars at the first. We're still the best Sneetches, and they are the worst. But now, how in the world will we know, they all frowned, if which kind is what, or the other way round? Then up came McBean, with a very sly wink, and he said, things are not quite as bad as you think. So you don't know who's who, that is perfectly true. But come with me, friends, do you know what I'll do? I'll make you again the best Sneetches on beaches, and all it will cost you is $10 each. Billy's stars are no longer in style, said McBean. What you need is a trip through my star-off machine. This wondrous contraption will take off your stars, so you won't look like Sneetches who have them on theirs. And that handy machine, working very precisely, removed all the stars from their tummies quite nicely. Then with snoots in the air they paraded about, and they opened their beaks and they let out a shout. We know who is who, now there isn't a doubt. The best kind of Sneetches are Sneetches without. Then, of course, those with stars all got frightfully mad. To be wearing a star now was frightfully bad. Then, of course, old Sylvester McMonkey McBean invited them into his star-off machine. Then, of course, from then on, as you probably guessed, things really got into a horrible mess. All the rest of that day on those wild, screaming beaches, the fix-it-up chappie kept fixing up Sneetches, off again, on again, in again, out again. Through the machines they raced round and about again, changing their stars every minute or two. They kept paying money, they kept running through, until neither the plane nor the starbellies knew whether this one was that one, or that one was this one, or which one was what one, or what one was who. Then, when every last cent of their money was spent, the fix-it-up chappie packed up, and he went. And he laughed as he drove in his car up the beach. They never will learn. No, you can't teach a Sneetch. But McBean was quite wrong, I'm quite happy to say, that the Sneetches got really quite smart on that day. The day they decided that Sneetches are Sneetches, and no kind of Sneetch is the best on the beaches. That day all the Sneetches forgot about stars, and whether they had one or not upon theirs. So that wraps up our stories for this morning. It was great seeing you all here today as we joined together for Shabbat story time. Our Shabbat morning service will begin at 10 a.m., so I hope to see you back here in 25 minutes on Facebook. And then tonight, Havdalah is at 7 p.m. Many of us will be gathering in person at CDT. For those of you who are unable to join us or didn't RSVP, we will still be streaming Havdalah live on Facebook at 7 p.m., so join us tonight as we say farewell to Shabbat for another week. We have lots more coming up, including our Passover Seder in just a couple weeks. I hope to see you all very soon, including next week, same time, same place, Facebook or our website, for another Shabbat morning story time. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Have a great day and a great